the world. It's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Welcome to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Brand new show this week. Ton of stuff going on. All kind of different things going on in the real estate market. I will talk about what's happening here, both locally on the Grand Strand, anything real estate, also nationally, kind of what's going on. Last week's show, I kind of officially sounded the alarm in the real estate market. Interest rates had dramatically impacted real estate. We saw declines 45% in terms of new pending deals, which is pretty alarming. That was just in a matter of weeks. And so we had to hit a 20-year new high in actual mortgage interest rates. We'll talk about that. And we've seen, again, like I mentioned, about a 45% drop in new pending deals. But we'll talk about kind of how that's shifting a little bit, what's been going on with updates. Some good news, though, really three main regions, three separate graphs on why this is not 2008, right? It's not the same crisis as before. And again, price is still holding very well due to a massive shortage of inventory to the tune of 5 million units after the last crisis out of 2008. So we'll talk about the major differences, kind of what's going on, some great data, things I was able to pull up that really helped some of our clients, and just kind of talk about what's going on, what to look for, and what may happen going forward. Also, we'll talk about anybody thinking about buying. We've been able to pioneer a way for buyers to go in and have some lenders we partner with and be able to work with home sellers to get some credit to be able to actually buy that interest rate back down, and be able to get a lot of people approved that couldn't get approved before based on their debt to income, and also get them at actually pretty decent rate. Wasn't as high or anywhere near as high what they were being quoted before. So we'll talk about how we've been able to do that. That's been helping both our sellers and also our buyers in the process, which has been awesome. We'll also talk about this kind of seen this kind of pop up a lot lately, how millennials are becoming the driving force behind the housing market. We've seen that where they're kind of coming to age. There's just a big, giant group. They're looking to that and have families and finally actually moving out, which are help driving that economy and so-called real estate market, which is super important. So we'll talk about that. My team's amazing success stories. Been absolutely crushing it. Right at 20 under contract in the last 7 days. We haven't really dropped that much because we've been pushing harder, working harder. But we're seeing it really soften everywhere else. We'll recap the overall market numbers, and I miss it. Sales down 25% last month. And so we'll kind of talk about what's happening there, what's going on interest rates, and a few things we had really on this overall criteria the last couple of weeks that we couldn't get to just because of time. But here's one interesting stat. Demand for new homes is down 86% since last year. That's right now today on CNBC. So we'll talk about how do you navigate this. I have one main goal, but doing this over 12 years in this station here, and just really help give you information and data to make the absolute best decisions possible for one of your largest assets for most people, which is real estate. And so we'll tune into that. Anytime you go back and see these or review these or go back and listen to them, we put these on YouTube, also on Facebook under Sloan Realty Group. You can follow me personally at Blake Sloan, and you can also go to your favorite podcast portal, the Google, Apple, all that, Anchor FM, and go back and listen to these shows. Make sure you can go back. We'll keep doing that for you every single week, just like we've been doing for the past 12 years.
All right, a lot of stuff to get to. If you just tuned in for the very first time and you're not sure who you're listening to or what you're listening to, it's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show, hosted by, of course, Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan has been called the Real Estate Whiz Kid. It's been featured in Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, Realtor magazine, and other national publications. You may be seeing him on TV with NBC and also with Fox and Brett Reporting Show. You heard the personal endorsements here by Sean Hannity, also Barbara Corcoran, Gary LeVox. Put them all together, it's just totally unprecedented. Now, that's one thing, but the other thing is that Blake has trademark systems for both home sellers and home buyers. They are trademarked, so we can't give you all the details, but more than happy every week to tell you the most important part of that system.
Yes, and this is ironically the most important part of our show. And I made a promise, I'd say about 8 years ago, that after doing a show for a while, I just saw the same problems over and over and over, and the same horror stories over and over and over. And really, I started doing that after we had listeners who were listening to our show for a while and having the same horror stories. And I'm like, man, I really just need to talk about this. And I see this mistake. Saw it happen this past week with someone who they weren't familiar who we are. They came off of a website for some investor stuff that we do, and they wanted to get their house sold. And he's, look, man, I got my friend down the street who's riding a tractor right now, who will do it at 3% or whatever the number was. I don't know the number. It was very low. And we're like, man, well, there's a reason that he's driving a tractor and not actually doing real estate, because he doesn't have the skill set needed to get your property sold in this marketplace. But a lot of times he was so stuck on that number trying to find the lowest one, which is not how you want to make decisions for your largest assets, right? Maybe if you're looking, here's the thing. People won't even buy the cheapest TV most of the time, right? Because you know what happens. It breaks. It doesn't look good. But for some reason, they want the cheapest agent, and that's just the absolute worst thing you can do. And so here's the deal. The mistake people make is thinking that all real estate agents are the same. It could not be any further than the truth. Trust me, I see it every day, most of which are not very good at all, right? The reality is in our marketplace, the average agent sells 4 homes per year. You take the amount of homes sold divided by the amount of agents, guess what? It comes to right about 4.3 homes per year per agent, which is terrible. That's 1 home per quarter. You don't have a whole lot of experience, or you don't have any money to market with if you're only selling 4 homes a year, right? That's why you're also going to drive a tractor in that scenario. So here's the deal. The single most important variable that determines your failure or success as a home seller in today's market comes down to one thing only. It's not the market change. It's not anything really what's going on right now. It comes down to the agent you choose, and specifically how they actually execute from A to Z. Because what most people don't realize, there's a lot more to get your home sold when you think. There's actually 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, guess what it does? Puts money in your pocket, property gets sold. Anything's handled incorrectly, aka they drop the ball at any point. That could be anything from pricing strategy. We saw one this morning. The agent had a price $100,000 too much, even $100,000 over any valuation online, where it's just not even. It's common sense that, look, man, your agent clearly misled you in that scenario just to get a listing, because guess what? Look them up. They only sold a couple houses in the last 12 months. And so meanwhile, this home seller was sitting in the market and they had reached out to us. They can't figure out why it's not selling. Well, that's because your agent has it priced $100,000 more than you could ever sell it for, even 6 months ago. And so this is something we see over and over and over and over again, because people make this mistake of, I want to go the cheapest agent, or think that they're all the same. It could not be any further from the truth. Just like any doctor, any lawyer, right? If you're charged with a crime you did not commit, right? You have some issues with taxes or anything else. Do you want the cheapest, or do you want the absolute best, right? Do you want some part-time attorney who's only tried a few cases, or do you want the absolute most experienced, most amazing, really most intense attorney that you can find, right? You want the best. And so why should you not demand that same level of excellence when you're dealing with your largest assets for most people, which is real estate? And so what most agents do is the 3 Ps. They promise you the world to get the listing. I mean, they'll tell you anything and everything that you want to hear. Usually it's really 2 things. Number one, they're number one. Or number 2, they can get you more money for your house, right? That's how they get the listing at $100,000 too much. And see, a few months ago or last year, you over-promising for what they can get you the property. And guess what? Now the property's sitting there and you can't figure out why, and you're super frustrated. So that's the number one thing you see. And the second thing they do is they put it to MLS. They take some photos. Used to be able to take it. Now they're taking an iPhone or just a cell phone. They put it on MLS. And 3, they just pray that someone else brings a buyer to them, which is what happens most of the time. They split the commission evenly, 50-50 through MLS. And guess what? They're happy getting that, because they're down the street already trying to get the next listing before yours is even sold yet. And I know that because I grew up in the business. I've seen it happen my entire life. And I've been doing this business almost 20 years. And I see this over and over and over again. And so the reality right now, these stakes are higher than ever. It's not like it was before. We're not really in a seller's market or a buyer's market right now. What we're kind of calling, really, you want someone who is really in a skills-based market right now. Your agent has to be very good at what they do. They have to be very good at how they execute, and very good at how they have strategies. And also, that's a lot of money right now to help get your properties sold. And so what I did is said, look, there's got to be a better way to help get properties sold. And I've really been a student of business for my entire life. I had lemonade stands when I was a kid, all kind of stuff. And I bought all the infomercial products you could ever buy as a kid. I used to have a recycling business. I would take my cash from that. I give it to my mom. I use her credit card to buy these products for infomercials. Back then it was like Russ Whitney and Carlton Sheets and all these things that I was just fascinated in real estate and business. And so that's been my game, is that student of that. But I got in real estate and said, there's got to be a better way. And so I sought out and said, what do they do outside of real estate? And they have 2 things: systems and people that bring predictable results. And so I sought out, designed this program called the Guaranteed Sold System, the only proven system that sells twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. It works the same way every single time. And we're able to get predictable results for our clients. And we do that by doing the dominoes and lining those up in the right order and knocking them down one by one by one. And so what it does is it gives our client a massive competitive advantage. And so we talk about that all the time. The best way to look at that is like a marathon. If a marathon start, everyone takes off with a shotgun, right? You have this sound, everybody takes off. In the beginning, it looks cool, everybody's together. But what they don't realize is over time, everyone spreads out. Some finish that at the end 2 and 3 hours ahead of other people. And it's the same exact thing that we do with the marathon of getting your home sold. And we actually sprint through it using technology and people in that Guaranteed Sold system. We have a team of specialists who's very, very good at what they do. And each person specializes in that part of the process so they can nail that and make sure you get it right every single time, and make sure that overall we give you, the client, a massive competitive advantage. On the flip side, there's 100 plus variables in the buyer side. It's very difficult right now as well, right? Interest rates high, inventory is still very low, and there's a lot of uncertainty out there. And so you want a true expert who can guide you through that, but also it's really hard for one agent to do all those things by themselves. And so what you find is over 90% of agents operate the same way, the old school 8-track tape way, which is you have one agent who's trying to juggle all the balls at the same exact time. They're trying to work with buyers at the same time, trying to work with sellers at the same time, trying to do marketing, their administration, their communication, their follow-up, all these things. And that's like having the same person at McDonald's, the front register, the drive-through, their French fries at the same time. It's very, very inefficient, which is why you see such a massive failure rate in terms of agents getting the success that their client wants for them. And so we went out, designed that program, have a team of specialists where each person sits in their one area. For example, one person does the fries, one person does the drive-through, one person does the front register. And now we're able to get massive leverage for our clients and get you massive results. And so if you're out there thinking about having someone represent you, make sure you answer the most important question is your agent a skills-based agent that can really master this market and what's going on? And here, I'll be just direct with you. 6 months ago or 12 months ago, anybody could get in and sell a house. But right now, when you're seeing a 45% drop in the amount of new pending deals and less buyers out there, almost to the tune of 50%, your agent has to be good, and you owe it. And you deserve to have someone who's the absolute best. And so if you want to know more how that works, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com anytime. Be right back in a second.
And who you hire to negotiate your home, that really matters. Hey, Sean Hannity here, and as an active investor who invests in real estate all across the great country of ours, I want the best negotiator representing my interests. I'm talking about Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. He can help you navigate through multiple cash offers, and more importantly, he has turned complicated situations into 5-star reviews. Now check out his rave reviews on Google. Talk to him yourself. If you are on trial with big money at stake, you would want a seasoned negotiator with thousands of victories if they will take you on and you can afford them, right? Well, your home deserves the best representation. Know your options. See how much demand your home can command in this market right now and get the best representation that you deserve. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or online at BlakeSloan.com. That's BlakeSloan.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Barber. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sellers, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers in a time crunch, you can agree to sell it on a certain date, take after a home, or even rent it.
That's great. And if the seller has a bit more time,
Use our proven marketing plan and sell it for the highest price.
work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. The brand new market update. The overall numbers are very, very interesting. We had some huge news last week, really kind of sounded that alarm. New 20-year high in terms of mortgage rates. And I think the article we quoted it just talked about another 20-year record. And so I think it was like the highest we've seen in over 20 years, lowest mortgage demand since 1997. And so very, very interesting stuff, which obviously is correlated to real-time drops in the market. And so what most people do is they look at rear view mirror data. We talk about this all the time, where if you look at what most real estate reports are, they're what closed last month. But there's a problem with that because if they closed last month, they actually went under contract 30 to 60 days prior to that. And so you're almost working with data right now that's 3 months old. And so you want to make sure you're able to keep track real time. We've been doing that for our clients all the way every day since COVID started. And just kind of go over last week's show. 7 days ago, for the previous 7-day period, there was 415 properties under contract in Horry, Georgetown County for $134,734,000. Now, that was a 45% drop from what we saw at the peak. And so 45% less properties under contract in a 7-day period than we saw, just really a year or so ago in that. And so the good news is inventory is up. Inventory last week was 922 active listings. Right now, as of today, the last 7 days, it's up just a little bit at 445 under contract, which is great, versus 415 last week. And I think some of that was some of the sticker shock where we hit a new basically new record in mortgage rates every single day last week, which had a lot of people pump the brakes. You've seen some people come back and get a little more confidence. Rates have dropped just a little bit, but that's been a lot more for us this week as well. And so $150,368,646. So up from $134 million last week to $150 million this week. Overall properties under contract for our entire MLS, which is great. Right now, 937 active listings in Horry County. That's single family homes. I do that just because it's easier to track. That's really the most things you see people buy is come in and really want to know, hey, what's my house worth in terms of that? It's just the easiest to track overall, really over a period of time. Because if you go back to last year, there's a time it's 370 houses, and right now we're up to 937, which is awesome. A big bump though. So in last week's show, there's only 4 properties over $1 million under contract in that 7-day period. This week, back up over 11 properties over $1 million, which is great. Almost really tripled there, which is good. Last week's show, there's 50 properties over 500,000 under contract in that 7-day period. As of today, 58 in the last 7 days over 500,000. So bump back up, which is really good. But I do think that when we see next month's numbers come out, or overall this month's come, you're going to see a significant decline. We'll probably see 30% plus this month, maybe 40% plus for next month. Once you see that, because you're watching the pending deals go down drastically right now. We saw that happen really a period of 3 to 4 weeks. I've had friends across the country just talk about how they're really at a standstill overall. And so we're still moving property. Like I mentioned, my team and I put right at 20 properties under contract in the last 7 days. We track this daily, obviously. And that's something that we're very, very big on, because obviously we have a lot of expenses, a lot of different things, and we have a big team that serves a lot of people. And so we like to know what's going on in real time. And so that's just something to kind of go back and look. If you go back just 22 weeks ago, there were 690 properties under contract for $215 million. And that was all based on my notes, a 25% drop from the peak. And so that's a significant thing to look at. And so I think you're going to see a slowdown significantly in terms of properties sold. We have seen some decline in price, not a major amount yet because inventory is so tight. And that's kind of the wild card right now. Quick recap for anybody missed last week's show. Right now, sales last month actually closed overall across the entire Grand Strand, which is Southern North Carolina, Horry County, Georgetown County, and Andrews, Georgetown. We talked about that. Sales down 22.8% last month. So 526 homes under contract, where if you go back to last year, 681 homes that closed in that same period. Sales price, median price of 7.5% year to date. But if you look at the peak, though, and that's one thing you got to be careful of. There's any way you can move data around to make it really look however you want. But if you look at the facts and really look at, hey, what's happening now real time, the prices are down significantly from the peak. And so this year, prices peaked out for median price in May at 380,000 even. Since then, it's dropped pretty much every month, and it's been flat the past 2 months, right at 349,500. So if you go back to August, it was 350. Right now, it's 349,500. But the previous months, it did decline. We did see a significant drop, though, in average sale prices. Dropped pretty much every month since it peaked out this year in April as well. April, it peaked out average sale price here in the Grand Strand, $488,186, a new record, and has dropped really every single month since then. Right now, we're on the 419. So really a $60,000, almost $70,000 drop in the overall average sale price here on the Grand Strand just since April. And so you'll probably see that happen a little bit more. The one thing protecting that, though, overall has been supply. Supply is still very low. And so right now, inventory is at 2.3 months. It really, though, is a big jump from where it was. It's up 53.3% from last year. And it really peaked out at the lowest really in January, February at 0.9 months inventory. And so that's something we overall look at. One thing we're looking at, too, is buyer traffic. Buyer traffic is down significantly, down 31.3%. And that's just really year over year. If you go back since the peak, it's really down about 50%. In February this year, 8.3 showings per listing. Right now, we're at 4.6 showings per listing. And so that's just something you want to watch overall as well. Same thing really seeing condos. Condos, same thing. Condos see a decline pretty significantly, down 21.1% overall in terms of those. Sales price, also seeing those numbers similar. Median sale price is up year over year, 33.1%. And it just kind of bouncing around a little bit. So it kind of peaked out this year at 240. Right now we're at 235. Last month was 227, which they're holding value very, very well overall because inventory has been very, very tight there. Year over year prices for condos up 19.5%, but they are down from the peak. They peaked out this year in May at 276,805. Right now, 259,970. And so one thing really kind of driving that overall is interest rates. And so overall, last week's show was 7.22%, which is a new record we've been talking about. It's been bouncing around right now. Today, great news, 7.04%, which is great. It did hit a peak last week at 7.37. And so that's just something to kind of keep watching for and see a little bit of pressure there. And again, as people saw the numbers jump up so quick, people pump the brakes. And we are seeing a significant threshold at that 7% mark where people are just pumping the brakes and kind of sitting back. The good news is prices are still holding pretty decent where it is at 2.3 months inventory. And remember, anything 6 months or less is still a seller's market. And we'll go back to talk about in a few minutes. 2008, we're at 9 and 10 months inventory. So we are still at that shortage, and we're still not even back to pre-COVID numbers in terms of actual inventory. And so a lot of data you want to dig into making decisions. We really got our clients and show them all the great data and how to make the best decision in terms of strategy. And I always like to go in and reverse engineer the data and the scenario and what the client wants and really create a custom strategy based on that. And they really seem like they're a lot. 30-year right now for a 30-year jumbo loan, 6.15%. A 5-year adjust rate mortgage right now, 6.45%. A 30-year FHA loan, 6.75%. And a 30-year VA loan, 6.77%. And so very, very high numbers, kind of pumping the brakes a little bit. There's still a lot of opportunities we'll talk about to work with lenders and buy that rate down. We'll talk about that here after a quick break.
WRNN listeners, Blake Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for a home.
Totally true, Clay. And here in Myrtle Beach, that agent is our friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. If you need to sell a home and buy a new one, ask Blake about his guarantee.
You got
Get
a little bit more than 6 minutes, I believe.
Okay, if I don't have time, we may just cut the last one out. Just let me know. Okay.
You know when your current home will sell by and for how much you can buy your next home without worrying about getting stuck with two mortgages.
There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 five-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing. That's Sloan Realty Group.
And tune in to Blake's shows Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m.
Welcome back to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Hot buyer alert. My team and I are working with a ridiculous amount of home buyers looking for homes in the Myrtle Beach, Grand Strand area from $250,000 up to $4.3 million. If you're thinking about selling, please contact us immediately. 843-808-SOLD. That's 843-808. So one thing we've been doing for a long, long time on this show is putting our money where our mouth is. We talk about this where we outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. How do we do that? We have a different business model. It's a hybrid model. I have a team that's built into a brokerage. And so the model of our team of specialists allows me to spend a tremendous amount of money in terms of advertising. We can outspend the average agent really 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. So right now, real-time current count of active buyers who are on my website, who are searching, who are looking for properties here. As of today, right now, this very second, 69,819 active home buyers. Again, 69,819 active home buyers. When we get those buyers from all across the globe, we get people that say, hey, look, what makes you different? Why should I list with you versus anyone else? And here's the reason why. We have 69,819 active home buyers before you ever pick up that telephone and call me. And so right now on the website, at Linda Knapp from Dallas, Texas. She's been on the site, 291 visits. I have right now Tracy Banks from Toccoa, Georgia. I got John Fairland from Keene, New Hampshire. I got Twalda from Old Town, Maine, looks like. I got Terry from Waynesville, North Carolina, Wayne, New Jersey here, Greenville, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Goshen, New York, all over the place. New York, Virginia, Green, New York. And so we have buyers from all over Indianapolis, Indiana. And so that's what makes us different is our business model allows us to outspend the average agent 100 to 1, where if I was a single agent and working by myself, like most of them do and like most of your friends do, if I had 69,000 buyers that I paid for a lead to acquire, guess what? I'd be out of business. But with our team model, we don't. And so now we can leverage those 69,000 buyers, bring them to your property. And that's how we sell your property faster and for more money, using the technology and the sales team that we have to allow us to really put more emphasis and really more intensity on getting your home sold. And that's how we do it. And so if you're thinking about selling, if anybody you know is thinking about selling, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandma, whoever it is, if you like them, if you don't like them, they think about real estate, they smell like real estate, do me a favor, say, look, you got to call my buddy Blake, especially in this market right now that's so dynamic and really making a massive shift with 45% less buyers out there. You want to use the one who's doubling down, who's outspending everyone else. While most agents are running for the hills right now, we've been doubling down, have not cut any spend in terms of buyer advertising or seller advertising at this moment to make sure that we can bring in massive results for you. And so as everyone else is running scared come to us and send your friends to us because we're helping get that results, just like we did in COVID, just like we've done in 2008 as well, where most agents haven't even been through a downturn. With our systems and our processes was built for this. And this is really when I like to have a market where you got to actually be good, because now you need to be good to get results. And so if you want results, reach out, call me. Our team's absolutely crushing it. A couple quick success stories for them. Paul tried selling his condo in Myrtle Beach over the spring with another realtor, didn't get one single offer. He was angry at real estate agents in general. Thankfully, Paul was having a conversation with a friend who recommended he call Blake Sloan and Sloan Realty Group. Feeling defeated, Paul reached out to see if there's any way we could help them. We met with Paul, share with him exactly how we can not only get his property sold, but also get it sold for top dollar. I designed a custom plan, launched our Globe Marketing Blitz, professional photos, the virtual reality walkthrough. Just after a few days, received multiple offers on Paul's condo, sold it over asking price, which is awesome. And so all kind of different results there in terms of that. I had two more, but I actually don't have that print there with me. So one thing we'll talk about, one thing that makes things a lot different right now, I think is super important, is 3 overall graphs and really reasons why it's not the 2008 market. And it's very, very, very true. And kind of one thing that we're seeing happen overall right now, there's still a massive shortage of homes in the market, and there's not a surplus. And so even though supply has increased since last year, right, there's still a massive shortage inventory overall, and really due to almost 15 years of underbuilding homes. And so if you go back to 2007 and 2008, in 2008 nationally, there was 10.4 months of inventory on the market, right? That's when it started to shift. Even in 2007, before it started really the massive crash, there was 8.9 months inventory. And so if you look right now nationally, as of today in 2022, there's only 3.2 months inventory nationally. Here, we're really along that same line. We're at 2.3, and so we're actually less than that, which is really what's helping insulate us as a destination. We're still seeing massive people move down here from all over, and so that's just something that I think it's so important to understand. It's a lot different. Second big thing we talk about, I get some graphs. Obviously, it's hard to explain on radio, but mortgage standards were much different back then. Leading up to that, overall housing crisis, it was much easier to get a home loan than today. And running up 2006, banks are creating artificial demand by lowering lending standards. And I remember I was in the business back then. We had people buying 2, 3, 4 properties at the same time, all of which were based on speculation. So this time, we've seen a lot more owner occupants, a lot more second homes, and haven't seen near as much speculation as we did before. And I think it's a lot more standard than that because lending standards are in control, which is good. And also, the foreclosure starts are very, very, very low. That's because homeowners right now have so much more equity than they did before. And so here's the deal. The total average equity per borrower right now has reached almost $300,000 in the highest data series, which is great. And so overall difference here is a lot different. I'm going to save some time next week's show to talk about what we're looking at because South Carolina has 71% increase in values over the last 5 years. So if you know anybody thinking about selling, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com, and we'll see you here next week.